Gender-based violence is a serious and widespread problem that affects millions of women and children in Uganda. The 2016 Uganda Demographic and Health Survey, up to 22 of the women aged 15 to 49 in the country had experienced some form of sexual violence. This has devastating impacts on their physical, mental and social well-being, as well as on their economic and political participation. In this report, we bring you an insight into how different civil society organizations have played roles in curbing gender-based violence in the country through provision of support to survivors, advocating for legal reforms, educating the communities, and monitoring the progress and challenges of the fight against gender-based violence.
Gender-based violence is rooted in the unequal power relations between men and women and is influenced by various factors such as poverty, culture, religion and education, and cut of communication in the family.
Because of lack of resources or little resources, we keep fighting for the little that is there. And you know that we all have needs, and needs are non-negotiable. So at the end of the day, we have conflicts going on, we have violence coming up just because a certain need is not met. And because of the little resources, because of the lack of communication, there is a lot of mistrust. And so this mistrust creates that toxic environment. And then, of course, the otherings.
There is inequality in accessing resources. Let's look at the land situation in the country. Only 31% of women in Uganda own titled land, have a land title. What does that mean? You know? But how many people, how many women have the capacity to buy land? Why are they not able to purchase land?
Various civil society organizations have been working tirelessly to prevent and respond to GBV in the country, especially during the 16 days of activism against GBV campaign, a global campaign that runs from November 25th to December 10th every year.
This period is very important for us as a nation because it enables us to focus on ending gender-based violence, to reflect on what we need to do to prevent, but also to improve response services and how to mitigate the effects of gender-based violence.
At Uganda Women's Network, the organization has been providing economic support to the survivors of GBV, as well as facilitating their access to justice and protection.
Improving agriculture. There's a lot of work going on in accessing credit, in value addition, in accessing markets, in exposing Ugandans, especially those at the grassroots, to new innovations that can help them to be more productive and to sell their products. It's very many things. Education is also another way in which it can be done.
Rotary International embarked on a boy-child uplifting program aimed at empowering and involving boys in their efforts to end GBV.
In the past few years, we've talked so much about empowerment of the girl child to an extent that the boys have been disenfranchised. And we want to make sure that there is a balance. So while we get to empower the girl child, we also want there to be a clarion call that also the boy child needs to be empowered to also be comfortable with women who are empowered. Because a lot of the GBV issues that are coming up are as a result that we are empowering the girls, but are also not empowering the boys to be suited with the change of the dynamic in terms of empowerment issues. So we want a society that is well conditioned to understand that when we talk of equality, it's not just a women's talk. It also involves the men.
The civil society organizations have called for more investment and collaboration from the government and other partners to end GBV in the country.
Capacity of duty bearers in the various sectors that address gender-based violence, particularly violence against women, is limited because of different capacity gaps, which is mostly a thing of adequate investment.
Invest in empowering the girls and women, invest in empowering the boys, the voice of the boy. We are in a culture where the man is not supposed to show pain, but we also know that many of them are dying in silence. Time is now for us to tell them, let your voice be heard.
They emphasize that fighting GBV is a collective responsibility that requires the involvement and commitment of all stakeholders, including the media, the religious leaders, the cultural leaders, the private sector and the general public.
Why should we wait for the LC or the police to come and tell you what you're doing is wrong? It is upon us to hold perpetrators accountable and say this is unacceptable. That is the only way that we are going to prevent and to reduce the incidence of violence in this country.
Time is now for us to tell them, let your voice be heard. Talk about it, say it out. The girls are in a patriarchal society. The women are in this society which is strongly patriarchal. All we are saying is that as women, we must speak out. We should not die with pain because gender-based violence is a silent killer. It is a silent killer, and we know that many have gone down just because of gender-based violence. So the call to action is join us. It starts with you, it starts with me. So let's join hands against gender-based violence.
The 16 Days of Activism Against GBV campaign showcases the efforts and achievements of CSOs in fighting GBV. However, there is still more to be done as gender-based violence remains a widespread problem. I'm Navka Farida and Joseph Oko.